Welcome to Intentional Conversations. Conversations designed to inspire you, to ignite something inside of you, and to empower you to live a more intentional life that's full of meaning, fulfillment, and impact. Today is a solo episode. I wanted to share with all of you a recent experience I had at Sedona in a sound healing retreat. And there were many hikes and climbs that were part of this experience. And truth be told, had I known I'd be climbing a mountain, I'm pretty sure I would not have signed up. Seriously. Or I would have at least eaten clean and worked out several weeks before the trip to prepare. At least that's the story I tell myself. But as with anything, when we push ourselves past our limits, that's where the magic happens. And there's an opportunity to experience tremendous growth and transformation. And because of that, I wanted to share a few of my insights from that climb with all of you. So I love finding a metaphor in any experience, especially ones that really challenge us and push us to our limits. So here's what I realized. Climbing that mountain was a lot like building a business or even working toward a goal. And I hope that these lessons I learned will help you as you work toward achieving your own goals, whether professionally or personally. All right, so on the second day of the trip, we had planned Cathedral Rock, which is the feminine energy vortex that's there in Sedona. And while I'd known we were visiting the vortexes, I had no idea we were climbing them. I envisioned a Jeep driving us up, and then we have a beautiful ceremony on top. Was I wrong? So we meet at the base, and the facilitator had told us to bring a backpack. Well, here I am with my Kate Spade backpack, and everyone else has their REI backpacking gear. At that point, I still never felt any uncertainty. Looking back, this would have been a really good indicator that we were for sure climbing that mountain. So we begin on the walk to the base, all good. Then we start the climb, which at this point was simply a very small incline on a straight path. Within the first 2 minutes, all I could see was this huge mountain. I had the thought, there's no way. I voiced it to the facilitator and the group, and I told them I'm just not physically prepared for this. I didn't train for this. And I'm not exactly at my prime weight. I'm strong, but I don't know that my cardiovascular training is really where it needs to be in order to climb a mountain. And this is how I know it's always more than that. At that point, it was just a small incline, and I felt immense fear. The fear was actually coming from the overwhelm as I was looking at that large mountain in front of us. And that voice telling me this was impossible. I had never climbed a mountain before, and there's no way I could do it, especially not now. And we know that fear keeps us stuck. So after expressing my feelings to the group, they assured me we go at the group's pace, and we're all in this together. All I could feel was the feeling of impossible, but I felt it, and then I had a group of women reflect to me, we go as slow as we need to. We are together in this, and that eased the fear. The fear was still there, and it was strong, but I was able to push through and be open and move forward while still feeling uncertainty and fear, but still moving forward. So this is the first lesson. Lean in to your tribe, to your sisters. Know that we grow and move forward together. You hear me say it often, but it's true. It will make something that seems impossible feel more possible, to have support and the reflection from another. So as we climbed, I felt it easier to simply focus on the steps in front of me. When I would look up at that massive mountain, I would feel the fear. So the second lesson is about taking one step at a time. Have the bigger picture and vision. See where you're going, but focus one step at a time, one area at a time. So now we're a little more into the hike, and things were definitely getting steeper. Everyone in the group was amazing, but there was one person, Wendy. She's an avid hiker and literally took me under her wing. She had me follow her steps, especially when there were larger rocks to climb. Lesson here: be open and vulnerable and allow someone to help you. This was a pretty big thing for me, as I'm not always the best at asking for help. And I'm not great at being vulnerable. And I needed to be vulnerable. I needed to say I was scared, to admit that I didn't know what I was doing, and to say I didn't feel that I was able to do it. But what I realized is that I could have never climbed that mountain without Wendy. And I believe that 100%. She was willing to go slower, to meet me where I was, to guide me, support me, and continue to reflect to me that it was possible. Find a Wendy when growing a business, when you're ready to go to the next level. Seriously, just in life, find a Wendy. It's essential all the time, but especially when you know things are going to be hard and uncomfortable. A Wendy will give you a sense of safety. She will believe in you. Her belief will inspire you and will build the muscle of you believing in you. It wasn't about me following Wendy's steps. It was about her energetically holding this for me and there with me every step of the way. I knew she was there. So about halfway up, we decided to take a little break, and there was a large landing ground. And we spent some time there laying on this magical vortex and allowing her energy to infuse us. I remember looking out to where we started and then seeing the entire landscape and feeling such gratitude for getting to this point, for sticking with it. There was a moment of peace, of gratitude, and of rest. So here's the lesson: rest. We don't always have to be in action. Take a moment to reflect and have gratitude for where you've come. It's essential to have an integration time, a time to allow a deeper sense of listening and peace and stillness. It will actually make the journey easier and more intentional, and will give you more energy for the next part. So we continue on and we hit the infamous crack. That's what it's called, really. Look it up, the crack on Cathedral Rock. It's a rather intimidating crack in the mountain, and it takes some strategy and maneuvering to get up. This was a little more of a mental piece as well. Not that the other parts weren't, but even more experienced hikers tend to have a little trouble with the crack. Here's what I learned. I continued to follow Wendy and know that she was there with me, as was the entire group. But for me, I had to lean into the mountain like never before. And that is messy. I was covered in dust and rock, and it was messy. And quite frankly, I don't love messy. I like neat, clean, organized. And so the two lessons here. One, things need to get messy. It's just how it is. Sometimes things are messy. They're not always perfect, and that's okay. We just keep going. We learn, and we keep going. As Marie Forleo says, progress over perfection. The other lesson here is sometimes we literally need to lean in. I learned this concept several years ago at a leadership retreat on a ropes course, and we needed to lean into our partner in order to move forward on the ropes. And here I was 6 years later with a very similar message. In this case, I was leaning into the energy, into the earth. I was trusting her. I was giving her everything, and knowing the more I leaned in, the safer I felt, and that enabled me to take the next step. I felt supported by the energy and the mountain. So in business, this would translate into things will never be perfect. In life, things will never be perfect. Things are only perfect if you live in an Instagram filtered world, and we all know that's not real. If you want to grow, have an impact, create a sustainable business, you need to start imperfectly. Be okay with things not always seeming perfect. That is where the growth happens, and that is where the learning happens. And the other lesson here, lean into the energy and nature to grow your business. It's not all strategy. Strategy is a small piece. The world of energy is there for us to use. Allow that energy to serve you and support you. So connect to nature. Allow her to ground you and connect you to something greater. So as the climb continued, something I noticed was as we got higher up, there were less people and more peace. There was a sense of quiet, and I could feel in that quiet space, it actually energized me and allowed more clarity. Lesson here: find the quiet, carve it out, make time for it. Leave your phone behind for an hour or two. We live in such an overstimulated world. It's essential for our own well-being to have that space to allow a reset, to re-energize, and to simply just be. Even when climbing a mountain, when building a business, we need that quiet space in order to finish strong. Along the entire climb, especially as we were closer to the top, I noticed so many people who were seeing my struggle at different times, and they would be there cheering me on. And that leads me to the next lesson. There are always angels along the way, cheering, believing in us. There are signs everywhere. They come in the form of people and inner knowing. They come in the form of animals. We're all on different parts of our journey, and it's important to lift others up and believe in them. Okay, so now guess what? We're so close to the top, I can see it. So close. Yet, this is the time I want to quit the most. So close to the top. And I'm tired, my body is tired, and I had the thought I didn't want to keep going. The thought was telling me I couldn't go anymore. And it was so loud and it was very strong. Here's the truth. I could have stopped there. I essentially made it to the top of the mountain, but I was so close, literally a 10-minute climb away from the top. And I think this happens so often when we get really close to a goal and then we stop. It's not about being tired. It's a mindset. At this point, I took a minute, and with the help of the group saying how close we were, I mustered up the belief and the energy and then did the final stretch. Sometimes we can have a group, we can have a coach, and we still need to back ourselves at the same time. We need to coach ourselves and mother ourselves and believe in ourselves and not give up. So we hit the end of the trail, the sign and all, and looking down and out and seeing the magical landscape of Sedona, feeling the peace at the top, the sense of accomplishment and deep gratitude. Gratitude for my body, my mind, the group, Wendy, the mountain, the energy, spirit, and all the people along the way. We took some time to celebrate and see where we started and where we've come. Lesson here: acknowledge, take time to celebrate and really be with what you've achieved on all levels, not just the tangible and physical, also the mindset and the personal growth. Getting to the top, I realized it's really about the journey. That is where the growth is. That's where we learn and we meet the parts of ourselves and experience the magic. The end is amazing, and yes, that's where we're going, but it's the journey that is everything. The end is simply the icing on top. It's really about the adventure and the experience that it took to get there. There's a sense of accomplishment and follow through, yes, but the richness comes from the actual climb. So always know where you're going, what you're working toward, and trust the journey. Lean in to the journey. And remember, have a team around you. Have a Wendy reflecting to you and believing in you. And then you start to believe in yourself. You begin to back you, to know that it's possible, that you are possible. You know you can do hard things. You are committed and willing and will do what you say you will do. And you'll see all the resources that you need are always there. Here's the thing, building a business or building a life, we climb many mountains, and some are easier than others. We're always moving to our next climb. And these climbs represent the journey to any goal. So I ask you, what are you yearning for? Envision that, see it, and take the steps to get there. Know that the richness, the growth, and the expansion are part of the journey. It's in the climb itself. Life is a journey. Celebrate along the way, learn along the way, lean into the experience of life. Take breaks, have gratitude, keep going. And know that life is made up of mountains to climb, which are every single one is there to serve you and your life. So ask yourself, what's next? And be up for it all. You could experience something you've never imagined or planned. So my own story is that I said at that moment at the top of the mountain that I would begin to honor and care for this body that literally got me up this mountain. I've always loved the power of the body, and I find it to be such a strong compass for us. But after climbing that mountain and for so long not taking the best care of my body, I made the decision to start to care for her. I have so much gratitude for the people that were on the climb with me, for the experience itself, but my biggest gratitude is for my body. So I will be back to Cathedral Rock again, and I will climb her, and no doubt I will have a completely different experience. And there will be an equal amount of insights and lessons to take away. So is the adventure of life. That is the magic of life. So here's to you, friend. Go climb that mountain. As Dr. Seuss says, your mountain is waiting. What's that goal in your business? What's that goal in your life? It starts with committing. Then one step at a time. And please remember to enjoy and savor the journey. I hope this helps you. And of course, I'd love for you to join this conversation. Tell me, what are your insights? What mountain are you metaphorically ready to climb? I'm here supporting you, believing in you. And I'm your Wendy, reflecting to you that it's possible, that you are possible. And your contribution is needed now more than ever. It's time to have that impact that only you can have. If you found value here, make sure to share with a friend or a family member, anyone who could use a little inspiration. We learn and grow together. All right, my friend, here's to all of us starting the climb one step at a time. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you next week on the next Intentional Conversations.